Welcome to week 2 of INTS 4498. This week we will have two topic areas to cover. As you can see in the announcement section, part 1, we're going to be looking at what's your story, an overview of the GPS grad portfolio process, and that will be your final assignment. And remember, we shared that your 6 assignments will create your GPS portfolio. And then part 2, creating your GPS grad portfolio story with the focus on the reflective portfolio. So we'll be getting ready for our first assignment coming up. Also, remember that as you can see here, we're in the content browser. And by now, um, you've gone through the start here and the syllabus. And now we're at the course modules. This is one place you can find the assignments and discussions, and don't forget you can also find them in the navigation bar as well. But let's open the content module for this week. When you open it for week 2, which is June 4th to June 8th, you will see that discussion 1, the networking introductions, is due on the 7th at 11 p.m. And remember, if you have any questions, please post them in the frequently asked questions or write me an email or call. And my information is all here in the INTS 4498 talk. One thing before we move on from discussion 1, the networking introductions, remember there's 2 parts for the networking. Number 1, to share your story, and number 2, to look at the guest networker ebook or live binder that we have for our class. These are all people that either are on campus or former students from Kennesaw that want to help you in areas of networking for portfolio, career, citizenship, and graduate 2.0. So take a look at that. But I do want to tell you, in the networking section, when I asked you to go through the live binders contain a lot of resources information, and you don't report on them page by page. You just read and know that you have access to that resource and focus on what you find interesting for yourself. Okay, so there's no reporting of any of that because there's lots and lots of resources. In all, remember to look at the INTS e-bookshelf, and that's where all our resources are located. And actually, I sent you that in an email last week, but here is the bookshelf as well. And here are the books that focus on the GPS process too. Okay, let's look at the learning module for week 2. As I said, we're covering 2 topics, and we saw those earlier about the portfolio, and I will give you, you'll be looking at the overview video for that. But here's an introduction. As you prepare for life after college, creating your GPS grad portfolio is an empowering way for you to reflect on your learning, integrate your learning, and prepare to share your learning story. This module is an overview of the process of creating your GPS grad portfolio story. In this module, we will focus on defining the GPS grad portfolio story process. And by the way, I made up the GPS, just like how a GPS helps you get to your location. Well, our GPS helps us to look at and get to the locations that we want to be by better understanding the view of our story. And when I say integrate your learning, just the act of creating a portfolio, both reflectively and publicly, is another way to think about and reflect your learning. Much like a kaleidoscope, you put all the parts in a kaleidoscope and you look up at the light, and or everything has a different image as you turn the kaleidoscope. Anyway, we will view samples of GPS grad portfolio stories. We have many of uh, our INTS majors who have taken this capstone class who have been more than willing, with their written permission, to share your portfolio, so you can get ideas of different approaches. Again, you create the mission design and format for your portfolio. We will focus on the 2 parts and the 5 phases of creating your GPS grad portfolio story. Reflective portfolio, the private, that's reflect, assess, collect, and then the best of show or your public portfolio, connect, and express. Developing your GPS grad portfolio story is an empowering way for you to reflect on your learning, and this module focuses on the process of reflecting on your learning. Okay. Now, let's go to the module objectives. You see, they're related to the course objectives number 1 and 5 for our class. But after you complete week 2, you will be able to identify the steps of developing your portfolio, examine samples, examine formats of portfolios, explain the process of creating your portfolio, and identify the three parts of the reflective portfolio, and create the first phase of the reflective portfolio, which includes you developing your learning story, your elevated speech, and your resume. You'll also, as I said earlier, review some sample portfolios and discuss the resources provided by the guest networkers. So what are some of the module activities? Going through this module should take you about an hour and 25 minutes. Number one, you'll review the GPS story process by reviewing the required contents in the GPS Live Binder and in the grad video. As you can see here, I've created a video that walks you through the process, and we also have INTS and KSU graduates that have done testimony about creating portfolio. Number two, you'll review some sample portfolios, and number three, you will review some sample formats. So you'll start by clicking, and all the video and all our videos have captions. So if you want to see the video captions, just click the CC. Here are a few books from our INTS ePortfolio bookshelf. The first one is about the grad portfolio process, so please review these resources that show you how to create your portfolio, particularly under the reflective portfolio, the private portfolio tab. Also look at the reflective book that talks about all different aspects of creating a reflective portfolio. Your reflective portfolio is private. It's you collecting your story, assessing your learning, and collecting evidence of your story. And then looking at some samples. This is a terrific. Samples have been donated to us for you to look at from different format styles. I have them organized by format, but they're all different topics from career-driven to starting a business to bits of personal and all sorts of examples that are really phenomenal to look at what your other colleagues are doing in INTS, but they wanted to share their ideas with you. Here are all the grad portfolio formats that you can use. Of course, you can use any format from paper to Web 1.0, Web 2.0, PowerPoint, whatever you'd like, but I'd like you to keep it free. So these are all free formats as well. Also, lastly, under the guest networkers, I'd like you to review some of the seminars that are listed under Creating Your Portfolio tab. So you can see some of the seminars that we have from our guest networkers of how to create a portfolio. Particularly look at the one put together by Amanda Long and also Lindsay Newhouse, but there are several that you can take a look at as well. Amanda Long is from our career development department, and Lindsay Newhouse used to work in the grad program here, but she was a grad facilitator here for my classes when she was in graduate school. And she also likes to put together portfolios and showed you how to do one also. This week you have discussion one that's due, and that is due on the 7th, as I said earlier, at 11 p.m. And then please review the upcoming coursework. Because it's summer, we're doing like probably now from now on 2 assignments a week, or the two types of coursework, either a discussion or an assignment. But your second discussion is on creating your grad portfolio process. This will walk you through the reflective and the public. There's lots of resources material. You don't report on all of those. They're just resources for you to look at and see what you think. Estimated time should take you about an hour to do this discussion. And also assignment one. This is our first assignment, first step to creating your portfolio, your reflective. It's collecting your learning story. I have no page length on these assignments, but I will ask you to write about your learning story and develop an elevated speech, and it's your first step in developing your portfolio. Please review the module summary. It's everything that we have just said to, what are we learning and why, and focusing on learning about the portfolio process and what our guest networkers have to say about the process as well. And remember to go over the checklist of all the things we just discussed for next week. So what's up next week? Well, week 3, we're going to be looking at creating your reflective GPS portfolio, phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 is reflect. That's our first assignment. And phase 2 gets us ready for our second assignment, assess. The assess portion looks at not only your learning story, but what is important to you. What are some significant learning events that you have had that are important for you to either write down, reflect, make a video, whatever you would like. And why is that important? And we will also be looking at the guest networking seminars on networking. Pay particular attention to Lydia Henderson's seminar on networking. She is your career counselor. Maybe you've met her. If you haven't, please meet her. She's in the Department of Career Planning and Development, and she works with all the integrative study students as well. And thank you. So I hope you're enjoying the class. One day closer to graduation. If you have any questions about anything, please let me know. Either write it in the section for frequently asked questions or call or write me an email. And I do want to say, even though we have deadlines for our assignments and coursework and discussions, I do say, and in the syllabus, that if it's going to be late, it's worth 50%. But if you let me know that you need more time to develop your discussion or your assignment, just let me know by email on D2L or call or just let me know and you'll get an extension. Okay, so one day closer to graduation, I hope you are excited about honoring, understanding, and connecting your learning by creating a portfolio and getting ready to graduate. Dr. Joni, see you next week.